Hey everybody, good evening out there in crypto land. We've got a real quick update here on Bitcoin. Looking more long term at this point. We know that we're up and down. We are we're on our way down a little bit. I gave a recommendation on a couple short positions about I don't know 10 hours ago, and so far they seem to be doing pretty well. But what I want to take a look at right now is sort of the status of where things are starting to come together. A lot of times I will to start back here on September 15th. I probably sound like a broken record when I say that. That's where I go back to our genesis of everything. But this time I'm kind of going back to the middle of July to get our trend line for right now. We have seen that there was some rejection of these trend lines. I'm on the 1 day chart here, and that's a significant factor showing that the Bears are trying to push through this support, and they've been rejected, bringing them back up to the levels that are shown here on our trend line. Now, what does that mean for where we're at today? We can definitely see from our history here that we have a downward trend. We have some rejection at these fib levels, and then it moves up, and then we fall through that fib level, and actually the candle does close below that. Then we get some bulls that come in, push the price back up, and then we come down, we get rejected at this fib level again. And every time this happens, it's going to break down the support that's there at that particular point. So we have a little run, we have some people that took profits, and then we have our fall and our support that rejected the fall through. But eventually, of course, we fell all the way down here to well, it actually closed down here about 6,000, but the day itself closed right around 7 grand, and that's kind of where this point is, and also where this trend line is appearing. We saw a nice run up to it almost touched $12,000 here, which is really fantastic. We had a little bit of a double top, and we can see that at the first it got rejected at this fib retracement line, and then the second time it was able to get through it a little bit. So this is important, and these things I'm mentioning are super important when we're talking about breaking down the support and resistance levels, because whenever something like this happens, if it tries it again, usually it's able to break through. So this is exactly what's been happening. So we had our drop down here, and you can see we've got a long wick that appears in this little area. We had a little rise up, and then it fell through. And then we had a little bit of sideways activity here. We fell through, and you can see here's that wick. Now this is important. It's important to understand that the support is, it's growing weak. This little area right here, this is weak. So assuming things move the way that I think they are, my assumption is we're probably going to fall down here. We're going to maybe go back up, maybe to 92, 9,300. And then when we come down, we're going to break through this resistance level, and we're probably going to retest 7,000. Now, this is speculation. Don't have a crystal ball. All of the normal disclaimers here. I'm not here to persuade you to make trades one way or another. I'm simply just giving my perspective based on what I see, and what I see is a breakdown of resistance, or rather support, at this level. And yep, there was a little bit of a run, and it was really nice to see the price stick up above 9,000 for a while. It didn't stay there for long, and none of these candles closed above 9,000, which this is basically our ceiling at this point. And we did have some breakdown of resistance, so we might see another run at some point, and it's going to take us probably closer to the top of this particular fib line. And then
I'm
at
on
this
the air,
point,
hon.
people are going to sell, and they're
I'm on
going
the
to
air.
take them down.
Sure.
And more than likely it's going to fall through this support line, and we're going to be heading all the way down to at least 7K. My assumption is we're probably going to bounce off of this level again, but I don't think we're going to have this same run that we did before. So that's what I've got here. I know that a couple people have, here, just a second. There we go. I know a few people out there have listened to one of the signals that I put out there a while back, and they actually opened up a short position with some leverage, and actually were able to make a decent amount of money, not just on Bitcoin, but also on NEO. So I kind of want to go to the NEO chart and just kind of take a look at this. Just real quick, take a look at this chart, and I want to show you based on a 1-hour chart what I was looking at here. So basically, where I've started this is where I gave that signal right around here at this price point. Which, if I pull up this chart. So we're showing that we open right here about 8,200, and then I've got my target down here at about 6,900, 7,000, and of course we have our liquidation point at this level here, which is going to be about 87.50 or so. You know, if it does happen to go all the way down this low, that's you know, 15% profit. If you use leverage, of course, that's a significant amount of extra profit that you would be making. But even if you were to close right now at this particular point, we've got a decent amount of profit. And if you use leverage, I was talking to somebody earlier, and they had something crazy like between 50 and 80% profit just on this small drop here, which is pretty fantastic if you ask me. So that's just a point that, you know, when we were in a bull market, of course, it's always great to buy and to hold. When you're in a bear market, being able to open up these short positions and take advantage of the fall is always very helpful. So little by little, I'll probably be opening some more videos to discuss this leverage trading, trading on shorts. I'm not really interested as much in trading longs. I might as well just buy and hold myself, maybe with margins. But you know, when we're doing shorts, that's something that does interest me a little bit more. So probably will get more involved in that. But for the time being, I do expect NEO to go down a little bit more. I know there's a lot of NEO fans out there, and they don't want to see it go down. But my assumption is we probably are. It's going to take time, but we probably are going to come down at least halfway through this. You know, if I look at some of these points over here, this is a potential point where we could see some resistance. So, and we can see that because there's a lot of wicks here showing that there's a lot of bears that are trying to keep that price down, and then bulls trying to push the price up. So we're going to see a little bit of you know, up and downward motion when we get down to that 7,400 level. So that's my expectation for NEO. If you did open a long position or a short position, you know, you're still in profit right now. It's kind of funny saying that because the price is going down, but you're still making profit. So going down here to the 7,400 level is probably a good point where you may want to exit that position, because it's going to be a little volatile, as we probably are likely going to have some sideways movement there, and it may return back to our point of entry, which we don't want that to happen when we're doing a short. So that's my ideas on this. So I know Dr. Vantage, I had muted him. I don't know if he's prepared to talk about the Chainlink coin. We had a request to do a real quick analysis on Chainlink. So we'll see if
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, excellent.
All right, so we got a request for the Oracle decentralized block here, Chainlink. This one is actually kind of an interesting position. Now, one of the things you're looking at my screen right now, and a lot of you are probably saying this is a bull flag. Now, the interesting part about this coin, though, is it actually is just following Bitcoin right now. If I actually bring up the Bitcoin chart on top of it, you'll see that it starts to trend just like Bitcoin does. So whatever Bitcoin does, Chainlink is probably going to take a similar action. Outside of that, though, we have been sticking inside this channel right here. And it does look like it's getting ready to potentially bounce off of, let me change my percentage here, bounce off of this 4,500 mark right here and potentially come up and hit this mark right here at the top of the wedge that we see right here, crossing this bid line right here, which is about 5,500. So that's potentially what it's going to do before it actually attempts to correct back down based on what I see right now. When it does correct back down, I would watch Bitcoin and see where Bitcoin is going. Right now, we are thinking it's probably going to tap back down a little ways. So I would expect that this may jump back down to either the bottom of the wedge, and then I would watch at that point in time because it could make a decision right there to actually jump down to this 3,000 mark and come back up, or it could continue this support line we have right here at the bottom of the wedge. So that's where I see Chainlink going right now. Short term, very short term, it's probably going to be something that may be worth sticking with if you're holding on to it, trying to get a sell order in around that 5,500 mark. And then I would actually, if you're looking at getting back into it, I would actually wait and see what happens closer to this 3,700 mark to kind of see if it's going to stick there or if it's going to drop down to the 3,000 mark. So that's Chainlink. Hope that helps.
Yeah. So one more point that I want to mention here is, you know, I'm looking at this and I just saw massive sell-off on Bitcoin actually as we were looking at this. It was I have it over on another screen, taking a look at the order book and trade history, and I was able to see a large sell-off, and now there is some fighting that's going on here. And so, yeah, I had predicted that there was going to be some major movements within the next 3.5 hours. Thought that might be where we hit the bottom and started to do our slingshot back up a little ways, maybe touching 9K again. But it's looking like, you know, with all of the things that are happening with Binance and all of that, you know, there might be some things happening there that are going to make people scared and sell. You know, I'm not the type of person that agrees that news is the real factor in all of this. I think there's a lot of coincidence here. But, you know, fact of the matter is crypto is very volatile, and, you know, we have done a pretty decent job at predicting where Bitcoin is going to go. But we can't predict where news is going to go and come from. So that's one of my reasonings behind that. I don't feel that news has as much of an effect on Bitcoin as people think it does. So outside of that, I wouldn't say that Bitcoin is dead, but what I would say is that you know, there are still several opportunities to make profit, and I think that opportunity is going to be coming up here pretty soon. I think that you know, once Bitcoin hits that trend line that I was showing earlier, that's going to be a good indication that that we're going to be seeing a little bit of a bounce. But one more thing before I let you go. If you're using TradingView, I created a moving average indicator on here. It's the 8EMA CES. You can do a search for it. There's a space between 8EMA and CES. Just wanted to show you this little duck face that we're creating here. This magenta moving average is based on the 60-day because I'm on the 1-day chart, and then this white line that we see here is based on the 210-day. Couple things that are really important here are the 30-day crossed the 60-day a long time ago. The 30-day crossed the 60-day all the way back here at the basically the beginning of February, the very end of January. And then it continued to fall through. This is the 30-day crossing the 90-day, and the 30-day crossing the 120-day. And then it sort of stayed with the 120-day for a while, and then it dropped some more. And what we're seeing now is the 60-day moving average is now also crossing over these lines. So we're seeing a definite reversal. And I was looking at the charts, and if we take a look, and if we go all the way back to about 2013, whoops, let me get my other pin here. If we take a look back here at 2013, we saw almost a similar pattern forming. We saw our 30-day crossing over the 60-day, crossing over the 90-day, and then when it got to the 120, just like we have now, it kind of stayed parallel with it. And we saw the 60-day crossing over, getting closer and closer to this 210-day moving average. And as it got closer, we see the price taking a very steep decline. This is exactly what I am expecting is going to happen to Bitcoin. And if we look from a retracement perspective on this, let's just take a real quick look here. Assuming we take this all the way back to here, which is at Bitcoin at $104, we are seeing a 23.6 retracement down to this level. So basically, we're talking about a 77% decline in price from this level way back here. So, just a thought, just an idea that no, we are not done going down. But on the bright side, when this does start to reverse, let's just take a look. It does take a while. I'm not going to lie. It will take a while, and as you can see, we actually go down even more. So as we come back up, consider taking profits. Assuming that we're following a similar pattern that we did before. Take your profits, but this is basically going to take a decent amount of time before we actually see the price return back to its level. So for instance, right here, we're looking at basically this is 741 days before it actually returned back to these levels that we had previously. So consider that. That is basically 2 years of time. Not saying it's going to take 2 years to return back to our all-time high. A lot of people are saying that this is going to be a good year and we're going to get some good institutional money because all of the people that were doing all this trading back here in 2014, 2015, it wasn't big money. It wasn't banks. It wasn't people that have huge financial interest in it because fact of the matter is people were buying Bitcoin when it was $2, $3, $5, and they had hundreds and thousands of Bitcoin. But now the people that are getting into crypto are people that have a lot of money that that are not willing to let Bitcoin go down to these super low levels. So just keep in mind that our moving averages are a great indicator based on the price, and a lot of people trade based on moving averages. And we can see that right now on the 1-day chart, we're hovering around this 240-day moving average. We are below the 210-day. And as a matter of fact, if you look very closely, we totally rejected the 210-day moving average right here. Sorry for the mess on my drawing, but we basically are rejected right there, and now we're touching the 240. If I had to guess, we're probably touching the 250-day chart or day moving average right now. So keep that in mind, that that these moving averages are used on a lot of trading bots. They're used in a lot of real trading. People actually do trade based on moving averages. So think about that as you're looking at your charts. It's just one more indicator that you can use in addition to all of the other charts that we have shown you. Of course, you've got your money flow index. You've got your Bollinger Bands. You have your squeeze indicators, your oscillators. There's a lot of different things. And then the one last thing, I promise this is the last one, then I'll let you go, is we have a cross that has occurred actually just recently. It has gone down, and that's the short term that's going under the long term. And the last time that happened, Bitcoin actually decreased in value. Let's just take a look here. Bitcoin decreased in value by, let's see here, before we crossed back up, it decreased in value by 24.6%. So if that happens again, let's just take a real quick look and see where this will take us, because we just crossed over right about here. So that's going to take us to $6,000. That is almost exactly where we were all expecting it to go to retest 6,000. So here we have it. So Dr. Vantage, do you have anything that you'd like to finish up before we close out the session today?
No further thoughts for me.
Excellent. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. We will start doing more advice. It's not financial advice, so I guess it's really just us kind of giving you our thoughts. And that's where we'll leave it. Not financial advice, educational purposes only, and all of that good stuff. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing some looks at some short positions because, you know, again, we are looking at the market to go down for a while. There is probably going to be a bounce, but it's going to continue going down. And I really do think that we're probably going to retest 6K again. And if we do, chances are pretty good it's going to fall through because we already broke through or wore down the support at 6K. So now we're looking at the next level of support, which is going to be lower than 6K. So that's sort of where I'm looking at this point. So everybody, hope you enjoyed it. Like the video, share the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Otherwise, I will see you all in Cryptoland. Have a great night.